Hey everybody, what's going on? Slim Anthem here, and welcome back to another episode of Talking Points. In this episode, we are going to deal with personally my top moments in the Call of Duty franchise that I consider were gruesome. Now, how I define gruesome would probably have to be the moments where I really had to set down the controller and really contemplate like whether I want to keep playing or not, because what I saw was just either too unexpected, or was just too gory or bloody in the moment. Of course, I kept playing, but just stuff that really caught me off guard by how detailed and descriptive the actions of the protagonist or antagonist were in the moment of the video game. So I could go all day with naming several instances that happened in the Call of Duty franchise, whether it was in single player or multiplayer, that really caught me off guard. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to name a few from each game that I've played, and um, just kind of let you know like what my thoughts were in the moment. So probably the first moment that I would like to point out would probably be from number one would probably be from COD 4 Modern Warfare, and there were two moments that actually kind of caught me off guard. One was in the mission All Gillied Up, where you're back in time as Captain Price with Captain Macmillan, and you guys are in Pripyat trying to take out Zakhaev. And when you're on your way to the meeting, you notice a guy that walks out onto a balcony in the town. And if you're playing the game just to be stealthy and all that, you'll probably go for the headshot to take the guy out. But when you snipe the guy, you notice that his body falls like 5 stories down to the ground. It's very obvious that the game intended you to take that kill. And you kind of look at it for a moment, and like, even though it's not gory or anything, you're just like, I just sniped a man off a building and he's falling 5 feet, or not 5 feet, 5 stories down. I don't know, it's just kind of one of those feelings that you get, like, you kind of feel a little bit uneasy, but you're like, he was Russian anyway, he was a Soviet, it's alright. Another moment from Modern Warfare that kind of caught me wide-eyed and like, what the hell? Why did that have to be? Was probably the last mission of the game, when everybody's down on the bridge and Zakhaev is in your line of sight. He's walking around executing people. He walks up to Gaz, and by the way, spoiler alert for this whole video if you guys have not played these games, but he takes his pistol, and right as Gaz looks up at Zakhaev, pulls the trigger and just executes some headshot. And I did not see that coming at all. I mean, Griggs went down heroically trying to protect Soap, but Zakhaev showed no mercy at all towards Gaz. As soon as Gaz even took one look at Zakhaev, just put a bullet right through his brain. So that kind of put me at a situation where I was like, okay, this guy has got to die. He's a cold-blooded killer, will do anything he can just to tie up loose ends. Another moment would probably be from Modern Warfare 2, where you're at the airport in Russia, and it's that dreaded No Russian mission where you're undercover as Alan, and you're killing innocent civilians left and right. That opening sequence where you're walking out of the elevator and the pedestrians turn around and look at you, and it's silent for just a second before you start shooting everyone, that was insane. Like, I can see why they put the warning label on that mission, because at the time when that game came out, I was thinking, I know it can't be that bad, but as soon as I pull that, I don't know why, but I'm trying to think what was going on through my head at the time when I was playing that game. Like, obviously, I knew I had to shoot the civilians because all the because Makarov and his friends were aiming their guns at him, but there was kind of a thought going on in my head, like, should I really even do this? And it made me think after I completed the mission, like, was there any possibility that I could have completed that without killing anybody? But no, I the only way I could have completed that mission is just by killing civilians, and that was just very disturbing. That whole opening scene where they're standing at the metal detectors and you turn on them and shoot them. That's that was insane. Another moment from Modern Warfare 2 would be Shepard's betrayal. And um, when I first started playing the campaign, people already spoiled to me that Shepard betrays you at some point, and I could have saw that coming because Shepard looks like the kind of guy that would be a prick and would turn against his own. But I did not expect it the way that he did it. Um, After he kills Roach and turns on Ghost and puts a deagle, or puts a, was it a deagle? No, it was a Magnum. After he shoots Roach and Ghost, he literally makes the situation. He literally goes overkill in the whole situation. Instead of just killing them, he decides to burn them up by putting them in a pit, pouring gasoline on both the bodies, and then just the icing on the cake, he tosses his lit cigar into the pile and burns up both the bodies. That and the music that accompanied the whole sequence was just very sad, but I found that to be very gruesome because that is like, I don't know, it was just so it was so disturbing at the time. It really just got a hold of me. Like, I can't believe that just happened. So moving on now to Black Ops 1. Like I said, I can name stuff all day, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to kind of cut the list short for each of the games. So Treyarch, in my opinion, have been known to be the most gruesome in all their games. I feel like they've done the most as it is to kind of keep the players kind of on edge with their combat sequences and what happens to the allies and stuff like that. Because it always seems like they kind of throw in a little bit of a twist that always keeps people interested in the game, whether it's pulling the pin on a belt that's on a grenade belt that's wrapped around an enemy's waist, or burning someone up with shotgun incendiary rounds, stuff like that. But one moment that I would say in particular from Black Ops 1 that really kind of got me at the time was when you're doing the mission where you're landing in Vietnam. You crash land after your helicopter goes down. You're swimming underwater, the murky Vietnam water. You stumble across a boat that has two soldiers on them, and it's you and Woods. And as soon as you swim up to the boat, you and Woods both pull the enemies underwater and slice open their throats. But like, just the whole motion of taking a metal knife and scraping it against the guy's throat while underwater, you can see the open wound and the just blood just kind of pooling out and into the water. I thought that was just kind of disgusting. But yeah, that was something that I'd say was kind of gruesome in my opinion. Moving on to Modern Warfare 3, at the end of the game when you're chasing down Makarov in that hotel, a helicopter is flying along the top floor of the building and shoots up the bar area where Captain Price and Yuri are. Um, so you guys are both starting to fall off the building. Um, Captain Price manages to save himself, but as soon as he pulls himself up, he sees that Yuri is trapped. In fact, impaled by a piece of metal shrapnel that's gotten pinned to the floor, and uh, that was kind of disturbing in the way, like, I don't know, always seeing someone impaled with something to the ground and seeing them struggle just to pull it out is just like, okay. Uh, but yeah, that was probably one of the most gruesome parts of that game, which also reminds me of another time from Modern Warfare 2 where you're battling or you're going against Shepard in that final mission, and Soap is prying the knife out of his gut. That was a pretty gruesome part too. In Black Ops 2, there's really not a moment that kind of comes to mind, but I would just say that I feel like in that game, Treyarch kind of kept it kind of mild because I felt like their action sequences were kind of more censored. Like it wasn't as realistic. It was kind of childish like they were kind of censoring all their actions. But there was one time where you're breaching and clearing a room on the on that floating ship Colossus, and or is it Colossus? Yeah. And when you're breaching clearing the room, David Mason takes his knife and stabs a guy in the neck with it. Just really the assassinations in that game were kind of gruesome, but not too bad. In COD Ghost, I'd say the interrogation and execution of Logan and Hesh's father Elias, that was something because Rourke, when Logan and Rourke are kind of struggling with the pistol, trying to take control of it, Rourke uses Logan to shoot his own father, and then after that, Rourke puts several more rounds in Elias's chest before knocking his chair over, and Logan's on the ground. So Logan sees his father say his final words to him, saying, "I'm proud of you, son. Everything's going to be okay." And then Rourke, you can see in the camera in the background, Rourke puts the pistol against Elias's head, pulls the trigger. Elias is dead. So that's probably my moment from Call of Duty Ghosts that really kind of caught my attention, caught me off guard. Moving on to Advanced Warfare, there were several parts in there that kind of got me, but the one that I'd say was the most effective in kind of capturing my attention and realizing that this was kind of a gruesome game was the first mission where your character Mitchell, he loses his arm after Will sacrifices his life to save him. As the ship deploys off into the sky, and the explosive blows up, destroying the ship and killing Will, shrapnel and pieces of ship just fly all over the place, and in which some of the metal actually strikes against Mitchell's shoulder blade, separating his body and his left arm. So you can tell that he becomes an amputee at that point and loses his arm because as your officer, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but as the guy that's in charge, drags you away, you can see that your arm is left behind and there's just a trail of blood kind of falling with it. So that really stuck out to me in that game. In Black Ops 3, let's be honest, we kind of saw this one coming. The first mission in the game where your character technically dies, it was in Ethiopia when you're trying to rescue the Prime Minister and Khalil. After your buddies leave you behind, your player is actually captured by some grunts, by some robots, and you're trying to fight them, trying to knock them away and stuff like that. But the robots dislocate all your arms or both your arms and one of your legs, and he ends up yanking your arms, severing them from your body, and you can just see blood just spurting out everywhere. And after the robot rips off your arms and breaks your leg, you can just see him just mercilessly pounding on your chest and your face, and your vision's going dark and bloody. It was a miracle that your character somehow survived in that game, but that was a tough situation right there. And then, of course, there were several moments in the campaign for World War II, like the invasion of Normandy and the train wreck and everything that followed in the game that were pretty gruesome. But this moment I'm actually going to assign to the multiplayer itself, because if you guys are familiar with playing the multiplayer in Call of Duty World War II, they give you an attachment that you can unlock for your shotguns called incendiary rounds, and the flamethrower does this too. But whenever you burn up a character and burn up an enemy using the incendiary rounds, or even throw a Molotov cocktail at them, their body still stands there for like several seconds, kind of flailing its arms around, but they let loose this dying last scream that's just so dramatic, where it's like one of those things that's like, God, this is so cruel. That I can't imagine the voice actors who helped with that game just screaming in the booth like their life was just being sucked out of them. But God, the sound of the burning characters is just so dramatic and realistic. So that's why I would say it was probably the most gruesome part of that game, was just killing someone with some sort of pyrotechnics, because plus losing your legs, of course, to the bouncing betties as well. That game, very gory. But yeah, just hearing the screams of being burned alive was always, it gets me every time I ever play that game. So I hope you guys liked the video. That's all I got for my personal most gory and gruesome moments of Call of Duty. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any other suggestions for future episodes of Talking Points, let me know in the comments below. As always, I appreciate you guys' feedback, and especially if you comment on the video or like, subscribe, whatever it is you guys want to do. But thanks for watching. As always, I will catch you all later. See ya.